Welcome to another episode of Made for Makers. Today we'll be talking about motivation, and this is exactly what motivates me. Let's talk about it. Okay, so first of all, it's really hot, it's really windy, I'm boiling in this attire. Let's just go somewhere a little bit more comfortable, shall we? Okay, so this is much more comfortable, much more sheltered, and yeah, okay, let's get started on this. So motivation is a huge topic for me because I have all these crazy ideas of all the projects that I would like to do, but actually getting started is always a little bit difficult for me. Once I get started, I keep on rolling until I finish the project, so that's fine, but it's like the initial inertia, the initial motivation to start doing something is always very difficult for me. Now, what was the whole point of dressing up in Witcher garb, attire, armor, whatever you want to call it, and at the beginning of this video? The point of it was to sort of illustrate how difficult it is for me to get started. I've been trying to do that clip for 3 days now, and various reasons, for various reasons, it's difficult for me to start doing something like that. I'm not particularly embarrassed. I mean, I was walking down the road with like 2 swords and the canvas in my arm and the tripod in the bag and like a sports bag with all my gear, and I was feeling like a boss. So honestly, that's never the issue. I don't get embarrassed very quickly or very often for that matter, but it's like the initial energy to start doing something is very difficult for me to get. So that was just show. That little clip has been 3 days in the making. Motivation when it comes to projects nowadays is very difficult from what it was in the past years. If I were to take you back to about 2017 or 2018 when I got my first printer, motivation stemmed from wanting to be like other makers on the internet. I've talked about who my inspirations are for my videos. I think around 2018 when I first attended the first Maker Central, I think that I started to develop my maker identity, if you will. Prior to that, it was more of a, oh yeah, let's do what that guy is doing and let's do what that guy is doing. It was never something like, let's do what Kurt wants to do, or let's do what Kurt would do. And that's I think that's normal for a lot of people starting out, especially when they're videoing or sharing their projects, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I don't feel like I did anything wrong with that, so it's not like I feel like I've copied other people or anything. I mean, I've always been upfront where I got my source material. I've always been upfront on where I got my STLs to 3D print, or where I got the inspiration to make something like that. So I that's not the issue. However, as after Maker Center 2018, and especially after Maker Center 2019, I sort of started developing a proper maker identity of what I wanted to do. And towards the end of Borscht 3D, which is the old name for this channel, I was sort of styling myself as DIY, prop maker, a little bit of everything. But honestly, it didn't feel like I was doing a good job, enough of a good job, because I was doing a little bit of everything but really not focusing or zeroing in on something in particular. And for a lot of makers that's fine, because a lot of makers want to do a little bit of everything, but I wanted to be really good at something and mediocre in everything else, which is okay. I want to do woodworking, I want to do prop making as well, and I'll do projects like those in the future. I may not show them on this on this channel, but I'll show them on Instagram, and because I'm proud of all my work. But I wanted to zero in on something, and I think the one thing that really sparked my will to start into leatherworking was obviously live action roleplay. I've mentioned it before. My first set of bracers, I made a video for it. I made a video for it in the past, and also a belt and sword frog, or at the time as I called it, a sheath or something. They were sort of sparked by my enthusiasm to go and do live action roleplay. LARP has been a huge motivation for me, and especially after attending Witcher school last October, I really got into it and making, arm guards and bracers and armor and fixing my gambeson and making all sorts of sword sheaths and stuff like that, scabbards. It's been a huge source of motivation. Now, what you saw at the beginning of this video, that costume is obviously not entirely made by me. I have some pieces which I bought, but all the leather parts that you see used in that video, with the exception of the boots, are made by me, and I'm very, very proud of it. They're definitely not the best pieces of leather out there. There are so many better leather workers, leather crafters out there. But the point is that I made them myself, and that kind of satisfaction you get from starting the day with scraps of leather or with untanned vegetable leather, vegetable tanned leather. You just feel a certain pride and satisfaction after finishing the project when you look upon it. I've got a lot more pieces which I need to make videos out of, which I would like to showcase. I might even do a separate video on the costume itself, what it took me to get there, what stuff I made which wasn't part of a video, like for example new belts. When one talks about motivation, I always like to think of it as motivation to get started, and nothing gets me started like thinking that I'm going again to a live action roleplay event and I'll be showing off my stuff, the stuff that I made. And that's a really huge motivator for me. Another huge motivator is also when I'm going to gift something to someone, because I believe that making stuff for gifts as a present, it's very difficult to explain, but there is value in making something for someone. First of all, you didn't just buy it, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with buying a gift for someone, of course, but and you do of course take your time to find the right gift. But if you're going to make something, you're spending time which you could have spent on anything else: reading a book, playing a game, sleeping, relaxing, working, whatever you want to do in that time. But you've devoted that specific amount of time to someone, and you're sort of parceling it in a gift. And I believe that time is the most precious human resource, because it is the one thing of value that we can never get back. Motivation for me, as I said, is always something to get me started. The enthusiasm of going to a LARP, showing off my work, and making a gift for someone is always a good motivator for me. And I would like to know what other people think. I would like to know what motivates other people. So in this particular Made for Makers, this particular episode, I will be extra careful to watch and read what other people have posted, because for me that's important. I find it very difficult to get started for the most part, but when I do, then I do it, and then barely ever want to stop. So it could be true for many other makers. I don't know. I certainly know some friends who are like that. But I also feel like that there are a lot of other people who just manage to get started whenever they need, whether they force themselves or whether it comes naturally to them. But I would like to know what their tricks and secrets are. Yeah, sorry this video is a couple of days late, but as I said, it took me quite some time to get started on this one. And besides, I needed a little bit of a break in the weekend. So yeah. Thank you very much for joining me for this video of Made for Maker. I will see you in the next one, and as always, stay safe and keep making.